Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Not Defined by Endo with me, Teniola. I have been on a mission to find and amplify the voices of amazing people who have founded health-focused businesses, services, or not-for-profit organizations. These people are working really hard to make a positive difference in the lives of people battling different kinds of health issues, or those just wanting to make better decisions regarding their health. Why am I doing this? Well, I'll tell you why. Living with illness is so difficult. Most times, it consumes and overwhelms us. It takes over our lives until we feel like there is nothing left to enjoy. So I decided that this season of the podcast would focus on people doing something good for health. Many of these founders discovered strength from their own personal lives and stories and are making such a great impact. I wanted to speak to them, understand their motivations, and get excited by what they have to offer. So join me on this journey and let's meet these inspirational people together. Today, I'm speaking to Valentina Milanova, the founder of Daye, a female health research and development company on a mission to bridge the gender gap in product innovation. They have created pain-relieving tampons infused with CBD, which are not only effective but also sustainable. Join me today as we listen to the incredible journey of Daye and how they are raising the standards of women's healthcare. Thank you so much once again for coming on the show. I'm excited to speak to you today about everything Daye.
Great. Thank you for having me. So happy to be here.
So Valentina, let's talk about you. Tell me a bit more about who you are, how did this journey begin, and just what do you think led you to take this path in your life?
Of course. So I'm the founder of Daye, a female health research and development company currently based out of London. Our first product to come to market was the world's first pain-relieving tampon, which was designed for women that experience menstrual cramps, which actually is about 9 out of 10 women altogether. And we exist to raise the standards in the way that female healthcare is provided and to create a continuous cycle of innovation to bridge the currently existing gender gap in medical science and innovation.
That's amazing. That's an amazing mission. Many women, like you said, many women experience varying degrees of menstrual pain. So knowing that you're working on research and coming up with a solution is amazing. Did you do anything like in terms of uni that led you in this path, or do you think that, how did you think of this problem and how did you think that this problem was one that you would like to solve?
I really wish I studied medicine or biology when I was at university, but I didn't. I focused on law and economics instead. I had the idea for Daye initially when I was doing some research around the properties of industrial hemp, which is the key natural ingredient that goes into our tampon products. So industrial hemp has two really interesting properties. The first one being that its fibers are more absorbent, and the second one being that the extract from its flower can be pain relieving. So I really wish I had more of a bioscience-y background, but I don't. So I guess the first time I was really inspired to start the company was the first time I was faced with the female health experience myself, which was when I had my first menstrual cycle. I was quite young. I was 9, so no one had a conversation with me yet about what to anticipate, the changes that my body was going to go through. So it was really shocking for me to have my first menstrual cycle. I didn't realize what was going on with my body. I thought I had some kind of a disease, with this weird discharge that was coming out, and I didn't connect the dots to realize it was coming every month. I just thought, oh my God, like the gods hate me. This happens at random intervals. What have I done? And I also had a really painful menstrual cycle, and I still do for all of my life. So I missed out on school because I had to sit in the hot tub. That was the only thing that would help. And I guess emotionally, that was the moment that I founded the company, because, it was so touching to have this experience of an introduction to the world of female health, which was really negative.
Oh, wow. It's interesting you say that, because having starting your period at 9 is pretty young. So I can imagine how scary it must have been. And the truth is, many girls and women out there, and this is why, raising awareness and talking about this and not making periods things to feel stigmatized about is really important. So it's amazing that you came up with a solution as a result of this, because I see that many of us who have experienced some tough things in life end up becoming like pioneers and some kind of problem solvers. So I guess something good usually comes out of it. So let's talk a bit more about your tampons. It's said that it's CBD infused. So how does this work exactly? Is it made of hemp, or is it just infused? So how does it work? Because I'm really curious to understand, how the product is, what the product is exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we've developed our own process for making the CBD tampon in-house, and we use our own proprietary formulation, which includes CBD, CBG, CBA, CBN. So not just, CBD, but other cannabinoids as well, which work together to form an entourage effect. And we have our own proprietary coating process, which is currently conducted partially in London, partially in Bulgaria. We have 2 facilities. We're also really proud to be partnering with some meaningful female focused charities. In London, we hire all of our employees from a charity called Working Chance, which gives women who are in the care and criminal system a chance to gain fair employment. And in Bulgaria, we work with a charity that supports women as they exit sexual trafficking and reintegrate back into society. So the way that the coating process works in a little bit more detail, we have a clean room. So we have really high standards of manufacturing to ensure, the safety of the final product and the cleanliness of the final product. Within that clean room, we have our machines, and they atomize the CBD so that it stays on the outside layer of the tampon, not permeating inside the tampon. And on that outside layer of the tampon is where the CBD can be in contact with the vaginal mucosa, providing the desired effect.
Wow.
It was actually, so an interesting story is how we found our design engineering team. So we have, a team of people who specialize in machine building, who created all of our custom machinery. And when I was first looking for people to join the company as design engineers, it was actually quite difficult because most design engineers want to work on, cars and planes and trains and, other complicated machines. So it was actually hard to find people who were open to the idea of building a tampon machine without, endlessly giggling about it. So I went to the art world. I found design engineers from the art world, people who had previously worked on really complicated art installations. So art installations that would, create rain within the gallery, or some of the fancy displays that you see at Selfridges. And those people, were open-minded enough to take me on with the challenge that I put forward, which was let's build a tampon manufacturing setup.
Wow. That's quite like a story, honestly, because so what you said about engineers or skilled people maybe not thinking of going to a startup, or like you said, a tampon manufacturing is one of the barriers that I know that a lot of women go or have to overcome when it comes to starting their own thing, because they don't even know where to start. So I think it's interesting that you said, you had to think outside of the box. You had to go to engineers in the art world. That's something that, a lot of people wouldn't think of. So kudos to you on that.
Thank you. That's kind of you to say.
So let's talk a bit about chemicals. And the reason why I want to talk about this is that most of our audience and the people listening are endometriosis patients, and endometriosis is an estrogen dominant condition. So people who have it usually have like estrogen overload. Endometriosis cells are able to create their own estrogen, which causes a lot of problems. And the ways to deal with this, many people try to stay away or reduce their burden, their chemical burden and overload. And we know that there's so many things in our products that are so filled with chemicals, xenoestrogens, phenoestrogens, and all of that. So what would you say Daye is doing to make sure that it produces or provides a solution to this chemical overload that we experience in so many other areas of our lives?
Thank you for asking this question. I do feel really strongly about the importance of us providing solutions for endometriosis patients. As a society, I frankly think it's a disgrace that we've, created healthcare systems that force women into this endless, vicious cycle of, you go to one gynecologist or one GP and they haven't been trained to identify the cause of your pain, or they don't take your pain seriously, or they just advise you to take painkillers as if that's going to work. So I think it's really important that we all shift our focus towards recognizing the authenticity of female pain, and then focusing our energies on creating solutions for female pain that are specifically designed for women. I think it's horrendous when we look at, most of the medications that are on the market right now were not tested on the female physiology at all. And they were not, therefore not at all tested on the physiology of Black women, which is vastly different from the physiology of white women. But for some reason, we just completely ignore that fact. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited I'm always super happy when I see new companies coming to the female health space who have, genuine intentions behind providing innovative products and solutions. So what happened with our CBD tampon is, in our initial clinical trials with humans, we were advertising for dysmenorrhea, so people who have severe menstrual pain. And one of the symptoms of endometriosis is severe menstrual pain. So we, without intending to, attracted people with endometriosis to our initial clinical trials. Mm-hmm. And when we were analyzing the final data, we realized that the CBD tampon is showing positive signs for effectiveness against endometriosis. So then in the course of, the company growing and us conducting more and more research, we presented those results to our medical advisory board, and they put us in touch with a researcher from an NHS trust in London, who is now conducting a clinical trial with 60 patients that have confirmed endometriosis and the CBD tampon. And hopefully this should lead to a pathway for the NHS to provide treatments for endometriosis who actually help. We know anecdotally that a lot of endometriosis patients do find relief from cannabinoids, especially when applied topically, creams and other solutions. So it's an important area of research, and we really welcome, more solutions into it.
Wow, that's great. I love that you're also doing lots of like clinical trials, because it's quite important to be able to quantitatively test some of these things and be able to say without a shadow of doubt that people have benefited from it. So it gives more credibility to your product or your solution. So that's amazing. I saw on your website you mentioned that how was it said? I think you said tampons are even less regulated than plastics or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, bladders and hand sanitizers have stricter regulations than tampons do.
Really? And tampons go into our bodies. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's unbelievable. What would you say Daye is doing to make sure that narrative is changing?
Thank you for that question. Well, at the start, as every other consumer, I just assume that there are strict regulations around tampons, because you see something on the shelf and you assume that there's a regulatory agency somewhere that has done their work, or the manufacturer has self-imposed standards that would ensure the consumer safety. But gradually, as I learned more and more about the tampon industry, I realized that that's really not the case. And there's been quite a few instances in America of people finding metal in their tampons, of tampons being recalled because of microbial contamination, and other, really significant health outcomes which come from using tampons which haven't been manufactured to the highest possible standard. So what we did then as a company is we turned to the pharmaceutical industry and to the medical device industry, and we borrowed some of the standards that we saw there and implemented those into our own tampon manufacturing. So currently, we're regulated under an international framework called ISO 13485, which is entirely self-imposed. We self-regulate based on it. We invite auditors to come in and look at our facility, look at all of our clinical validation, look at our entire supply chain, etc., to then provide us with the certificate which says that our manufacturing is to medical device standards, because we feel that that should be the norm in tampon manufacturing.
Wow. That's really, once again, to be applauded, because it's easy to, go the easy way if, there's no reason to, or you think you can just go ahead with doing what you are doing if it's not regulated. So deciding to self-regulate in a way, or inviting people or auditors to regulate, I think that's really, it makes me feel really happy as a woman, and as someone who could be using some of these products. It's good to know that people producing these products are taking our health into consideration and not just doing it just for the money. So that's good. That's really good to know. So my next question is about the actual use of your tampons for people who have heavy flows or heavy periods. I've actually personally tried lots of menstrual products, and especially pads, and I've tried some that have promised that they're organic, they're well made or anything, and they've been actually good. The only problem is that heavy flow is a problem, because there was one I used that I used to have to change like every hour, and that was just not feasible. Like, it was just not possible to carry on using it. So I think when
you focus on living your life, not changing your tampons.
Yeah. So, many women with endometriosis, with fibroids, some with PCOS, and some of these other issues, they experience heavy flow. And this means that whatever solution they're using, whatever period product they're using, has to deal with that issue, that particular feature that they need, or that requirement that they have. So how would you rate Daye in terms of, light to heavy flow, and what are the different products that you have?
So currently we are the most absorbent organic tampon on the market. So if you compare us in just the organic category, we're 2 milliliters per tampon ahead of our competitors. In the non-organic category, so if you compare us with Tampax or Kotex or Lilettes, we're 1 milliliter less per tampon than Tampax and Kotex.
Okay. That's good to know. I use Tampax. I try to say I'm going to go organic, but sometimes when you have the heavy flow, you just have to go to the thick, heavy Tampax ones. So I guess 1 milliliter behind, those ones is interesting. It's interesting to know. So thank you for sharing that. I like that you're really transparent.
Yeah, we're always innovating, and you can see all of our absorbance information. We have that on our website, but we're always innovating, and we're currently working on a way of improving the absorbency of our tampon so that it's even better than the one of Tampax. So you have an organic tampon which has the absorbency of a plastics-based tampon.
Okay. One of the issues that people experience when they use tampons is toxic shock syndrome. Is they doing anything that or are the products made or created in such a way that they reduce the occurrence or the probability of this happening?
Yeah, we are. So toxic shock syndrome is caused by 2 pathogens, Staph and Strep. And those pathogens can be found on the surface of tampons when those tampons haven't been sterilized. So what we do is, when the tampon has been through the entire manufacturing process, it's packaged, we then run the tampon through a sterilization process which uses rays, gamma rays, which means that the rays permeate through the packaging and to the core of the tampon and kill all bacteria, all pathogens. So when you open a Daye tampon, it's completely free from any bacterial pathogens which could cause candida, bacterial vaginosis, toxic shock syndrome, or other infections.
That's good. That answers my question. That's great. You've done your homework. You've definitely done.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, people deserve better solutions, right?
Yes, we definitely do. We do.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about, I have like one or two more questions. And I know that we've been talking tampons all throughout this conversation. But what other products are you producing, and what other products are you thinking of coming up with as well in the future?
Yeah. So currently we have a line of vaginal probiotics, which are designed for women that have recurrent vaginal infections like candida or bacterial vaginosis. And they work by replenishing the good bacteria, the lactobacilli that naturally inhabit your vaginal microbiome, so that that good bacteria can then fight off any pathogens. So whether it's an STI or an infection, any bad pathogen that come inside your vaginal microbiome can be fought off because your lactobacilli are stronger in numbers and they're well fed by the vaginal probiotics. So that's the second product that we have on the market right now. And then going forward, we really want to turn our eye to the areas of contraception and vaginal health screening at home. So those are two general areas in which we're working on.
Okay, fantastic. All right, thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed speaking to you. Do
Oh,
you
my pleasure. Thank you for your time.
if I want to, one final question. Final. This is the final one.
That's all right. No, your questions have been great.
If say I am looking, at trying a new tampon range or a new product, and I'm trying to make up my mind between Daye and one other product, what would you say to me to convince me that Daye is what I should be going for? It doesn't have to be just about the product. It can be about anything, your mission or anything, probably that makes me feel good.
I mean, I'll try to be as humble as possible, and just like look at this from an objective point of view. But whether you care about the products that you buy being sustainable, ethically produced, supportive of social causes, effective, clinically validated, we deliver on all of these fronts. So if those are some of the things that matter to you or your listeners, then we're your company.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Valentina. Today
Thank you. This is really lovely. I do really appreciate you giving Female Health a platform and speaking so candidly about the experience of endometriosis. And I just love the title of your podcast. No one should be defined by, just one area of their physiology, especially when the whole reason why they suffer so much from it is because society hasn't done enough to figure out the root cause and potential treatments.
Exactly.
So kudos to you and thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It was great having you on the show today.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed getting to know Valentina as much as I did. If you want to know more or try out their products, please go to www.yourdaye.com. Remember that I am not a healthcare professional, so whatever I share on this podcast is to inspire and empower you to take control of your health and your bodies. Please always speak to your healthcare professional before making any major changes to your diet or lifestyle. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love to know. Join me on Instagram and Facebook. You can also join our community on Health Unlocked and ask any questions or share your stories. All of the links will be available in the show notes. Don't forget to share, rate, and subscribe to this podcast. And if you have any questions to ask or topics you would like me to discuss, feel free to shoot me an email on info@notdefinedbyendo.com. I love to hear from you all. Till next time, remember, you are not defined by endo.